Hi everyone and welcome to Priority Holder. And today we're going to be playing Mila Superfriends in the Historic Brawl format. And you may be asking yourself, why would we want to play Mila Superfriends? Well, I mean, it's just so much fun. You get to play a ton of Planeswalkers. So Mila herself is a double-sided card, but I only ever cast the Mila Fox portion. 3-mana 2/3. Whenever an opponent attacks one or more of our Planeswalkers, put a loyalty counter on each one we have, and whenever permanent we control becomes target of spell or ability an opponent controls, we can draw a card. The reason Mila is nice is it makes it difficult for our opponents to attack our opponents, but also makes it really tough for their targeted removal. It just keeps generating us cards. So that's why I like Mila. And the fact that she gets us into two colors, so we get red and white. And so I'm not going to go over every card, but the main parts of the deck are, mana ramp, things like Arcane Signet, Cold Steel Heart. Of course, the Planeswalkers. Some of my favorite of which are like Wandering Emperor, really strong. Also like Chandra, Torch of Defiance, Karn's way cool. Ugin the Ineffable. Like, there's a lot of fun ones. So we have a lot of Planeswalkers, and then all the creatures we have are like utility creatures. So like enter a battlefield, get us a land, or proliferate, or enter the battlefield, get us a land, or draw a card. Things like that. Little expendable creatures that get us some value, and they can block and play defense for our many Planeswalkers. And so that's the main idea. And yeah, let's see how it is in action. Jump into some games. All right, game one. Looks like we're up against Erebos Bleak-Hearted. So very medium hand. Elspeth Sun's Nemesis is probably one of our weaker Planeswalkers, but it's something at least. Cursebound Witch. I don't have much experience with like the alchemy cards, so spend a second to look at it. Like, oh, okay, let's look at its spellbook. Oh, there's 15 cards. Yeah, I'm not reading all those. So, Thoughtseize next from our opponent, and they actually take Elspeth, which, yeah, I guess if you look at it, it's probably the most threatening thing in our hand. I would have maybe thought they would have taken the removal spell, He Lets Punishment. But we're very happy to see Elspeth taken because it's recursive anyway, and it's not good. So, but it's a good opportunity to play Mila Crafty Companion and slam in with Monk of the Open Fist. Now, Monk of the Open Fist may seem like a really strange choice, and it is. It's in there because of Grandmaster of Flowers. Grandmaster of Flowers, one of its loyalty abilities is to tutor up a Monk of the Open Fist. So that is why it's there. Opponent sacrifices their creature to take down Mila, which we're very happy with because Mila lets us draw a card every time opponent targets our stuff. So we get to go up a card, they go down a card, and yeah, well, I guess they get something from their spellbook. So yeah, put the commander back in the command zone. And that's Mila's main purpose, is like it makes it difficult for them to attack our Planeswalkers, but it also just helps us keep up with cards. The opponent Dark Rituals out their Erebos. So they're already rolling. Decide to lead our turn off with Priest of Ancient Lore. And we happen to draw a 1 mana play, which allows us to cast a second spell and trigger Monk of the Open Hand. So go ahead and smash in there. Between Thoughtseize and some other shenanigans, opponent's already down to 20. Trespasser's Curse. That's going to drain us for 1 every time a creature enters the battlefield under our control. Now, Erebos' ability is that you can pay 2 life anytime one of your creatures dies to draw a card. So, opponent is trying to play some ways to gain life to be able to leverage Erebos as much as possible. So we need to pay attention to that. Despite that, I'm sensing Blood in the Water. We have a lot of creatures in play, and Lorehold Command can dish out a ton of damage. So decide to select the create a 3/2 Spirit, and then the +1/+0. So opponent, it's going to gain a little bit of life, but we're going to smash them for a lot. And this is how you want to handle mono black decks, because they want to leverage their life for so many situations and spells, and we know explicitly they want to do that because they're commander. So we want to just chop their life as fast as possible. So you can see they're in desperation mode now using Farika's Libation. We just, take out Priest of Ancient Lore. Grandmaster of Flowers just does absolutely nothing here. It's incredibly lame. We already have the Monk. But it's better than nothing, so we just play it. That's a card that's just been already seems disappointing. There just aren't a ton of Planeswalkers to choose from. I mean, if it gets enough loyalty counters, it can turn into like a dragon. So, but that requires it doing a whole lot of not much to get to that point. Bantu's Monument, sure. Yeah, and they tried to feed the Swarm our Spirit, but we can simply just sack Selfless Savior. And we had enough power left over anyway to take them down, so that's going to be good enough to take down Erebos. I try to reciprocate with a friendly good game afterwards, but it wasn't working. Arena's been very buggy lately. On to game 2. This time we're facing Cody Vociferous Codex. And I am not super familiar with the Historic Brawl metagame. I mostly play just direct challenges against siblings and stuff like that. So, but from what I understand, I think Cody is actually quite a strong commander. Gets you essentially like a free spell off every big thing you cast. So a little bit on high alert, especially because Cody comes down so early. So that's a little tough. They have Into the North turn 2, so they're already ramping. And not really any clear direction. So decide just to run out Mila and then just sit back, see what happens. Okay, so opponent runs out Growth Spiral. So they're just powering up. They're already up to 5 mana now. So I was expecting them to play their commander, but they end up just using removal on ours, which once again is basically always okay because it just gets us a card back. So and it's good that we have some lands now, and because of Ornithopter, we can actually just recast Mila right back into the fray. So our commander tax is rising, but our card economy is okay. Alright, opponent shocks in another land. Plays Cody. So Cody is just a big problem. Decided to just Thundering Rebuke right away. Okay, so I was expecting a counterspell, but they have a Teferi's Protection. So thankfully we still have some instant speed interaction with Fateful Absence. We just do not want them getting any Cody activations off. So it's a little tough playing 2 spells to get that to happen, but that's how it works sometimes. Now, the question is, we want to play land this turn. The question is, do we play Shatter Skull or Fabled Passage? Go ahead and opt for Fabled Passage because Shatter Skull might be useful in removing Cody. We just got to raise that commander tax really high on Cody so they can't ever get an activation out of it. Now go ahead and get another white source, just to have plenty for Hour of Revelation. That also gets us our 3rd snow land for Faceless Haven. Okay, so opponent just runs out Cody. I mean, that's their game plan, is just to activate Cody. So here I'm explicitly using my non-snow sources to make sure I have enough snow mana to activate Faceless Haven after casting the Skyclave Apparition here. So we exile Cody. They could leave it under there and try and get back another way, but basically it just increases the commander tax by 2 again on Cody. But now it's getting quite expensive for them to cast it. It's already 7 mana, and we're putting them under some pressure. Okay, Expressive Iteration, very strong card. Okay, so opponent finds a land, cracks their clue. Alright, so they pass with 3 mana open. We get another Snowland. Decide just to pitch it to Chandra's regular, see if we can get some more action. Okay, so we draw Snow Plains. So it's time to fire up Faceless Haven. Now, unfortunately, in Historic Brawl... Okay, yeah, so they use Fateful Absence to destroy Mila, which, once again, we don't really care about because it always recovers as a card, at least for single target removal. Or at least targeted removal, I should say. But yeah, Faceless Haven is nerfed in this format because they nerfed it in Alchemy, which at this current time they leave the nerfs in for Historic and Historic Brawl, which is just really, really disappointing because I like to use Historic Brawl as a testing ground for like in-paper commander decks. So when the cards are not the same as their paper counterparts, it's just disappointing. That's a little tough right there, ending up with the... Actually, no, we could still cycle off Ornithopter. Sorry, I thought the Auto-Tapper got us. So final parting, throwing Farewell into the bin and putting an unknown card in their hand. Very surprising seeing that they didn't want to cast Farewell. Or maybe they have some way to flash it back. Anyway, we just cycle our land, trying to get more action. Okay, so those are two pretty good spells right there. But we're smelling blood in the water a little bit, so... Okay, so go ahead and play the Loyal Warhound. Get us another tap land, because the opponent has more lands than us. And make a mistake right here. Oh wait, would we even have enough to activate Faceless Haven? Yeah, so we still have a land drop, so should have used the Ornithopter mana to pay for one of the earlier spells, because then we could attack with Faceless Haven right here. So that's a pretty big mistake, because that's a free 3 damage right there. Opponent should have been at 8 had we done the mana a little bit better. Now they're doing an end step Tyrant Score. Maybe they would have done that on our land had we done it that turn. So, but that still was a mistake from our side. Oh, Approach of the Second Sun. Okay, so it's going to gain them 7 life, tuck itself 7 cards deep, and if they get to cast it again, they win the game automatically. So that's really strong for them because it buffers their life total. However, they still have nothing going on board. And we don't have anything juicy to get back with Restoration of Eiganjo, so we're just going to get a land. So just looking over things. Yeah, decide to activate Chandra's Regulator, pitching another mountain. That's actually been pretty clutch this game because it's helping us get dig a lot deeper than otherwise. So learned from my Ornithopter mistake last turn, so decide to explicitly use it to cast Sarkhan, so we can make our dragon and still attack with Faceless Haven. Now the Auto-Topper on Arena is pretty dang good. You just have to be careful sometimes. It's always good to spend a second to make sure it's tapping the way you expect ahead of time. So Time Wipe takes out all of our stuff, and they go ahead and put their tutor back into their hand. Once again, they still don't have anything on board, so we get a 3/4, which will be able to attack next turn, and Sarkhan, which can attack this turn by animating himself into a creature. And we still have, Faceless Haven, which has been really clutch this game. Don't even know how much damage it's dealt all by itself. I really love creature lands. I'm always very happy to play them. Not only that, but we can still recast Mila because Faceless Haven has Vigilance. So opponent's sort of on the ropes now. They got mana, they got options. Okay, so Lightning Helix. Once again, happy to draw a card. Gains them some life. Cody comes down. Okay, and so with our 5 power attackers, plus Faceless Haven, plus Perforof's Intervention, opponent's super dead. We could use the removal mode to kill Cody. And decide just to make the giant elemental with trample, just making sure I'm calculating it and not accidentally tapping Faceless Haven. That'd be horrible. Because the opponent could still absolutely reversal this game on us if they untap and get to use Cody, but they are super dead here. And we get the good game. Alright, on to the next one. Facing off against original Tatyova. So go ahead and just take a free mulligan. Okay, so hand's developing okay. It's pretty safe bet against green that we'll be able to get some value out of Loyal Warhound. There it is, into the north. So Loyal Warhound is already turned on, so we can just play our untapped source, play Loyal Warhound. Cold Steel also would have been a fine play, but now we can get our land off Warhound. Now, the difference between Tatyova and Mila, Tatyova has a ton of card draw that you are in control over. Mila always depends on what your opponents are doing. And so, and blue-green is just known for its insane card generation as well. So, it's going to be an uphill battle, like dealing with how many resources the opponent's going to be able to generate. Okay, Ashaya, Soul of the Wild comes down. Not only that, but all their threats are just significantly larger than ours. So you just run out Karn and plus it. Now, I did not catch it like when I was actually playing this, but Ashaya is like a huge combo with Tatyova. Like a massive combo because it turns all your creatures into lands, and so literally every creature will now trigger Tatyova, including Tatyova herself. You can see the border change because she's a land. So that's a huge problem because every creature they have effectively has enter the battlefield, draw a card, gain a life now, which we just cannot keep up with. So decide to keep Karn around. It might be able to help us dig for something, but we're already feeling in big trouble. Wrath of God is just what the doctor ordered. So decide just to plus Karn, just to keep trying to accumulate cards. Okay, so they give us the Arcane Signet. Leave the Elspeth with the silver counter, so... Okay, so just fire off Wrath of God. Unfortunately, opponent does get a 4/4 because of Skyclave. That's pretty tough, but it's just what we have to deal with right now. We go ahead and play Kabira Takedown as a land. Pass. So it'd be really nice if we had a Delirium for Unholy Heat, just to very effectively just take out something, but right now it's only dealing 2 damage. Okay, Emergent Sequence. Gets them another land. They attack Karn. That's one thing about Karn is that it gets loyalty really fast. So it can tank a couple hits. We know opponent can probably use their mana very well, so just decide to use Unholy Heat as like a land destruction spell. I'm gonna keep plussing Karn just to see what we can find. Oh, so opponent actually gives us the Chandra's Triumph removal spell, which is a little surprising. We decided to take this turn just to get a lot more mana out. Arcane Signet, Cold Steel Heart. Draven Expector gets us a clue. And trying to decide whether I should hold up Clue / Chandra's Triumph, but end up just running out a Selfless Savior. And we just get whammied with River's Rebuke, so that returns all of our non-lands to our hand. So that's pretty tough, but it's not actually the worst because we have so many mana rocks. So the best thing to do is just redeploy as much mana as possible which will allow us to hopefully catch up a little bit. But that's a pretty tough blow right there. Instead of playing a bunch of little creatures, decide just to play a Elite Spellbinder just to try and slow them down a little bit. Alright, so they have Stern Dismissal and Omniscience. So pretty easy to take Omniscience here, but it's not too hard for them to get up to the mana, even with that extra tax on Omniscience from Elite Spellbinder. Primeval Bounty, that's a major problem. Basically rewards you for doing anything the rest of the game. Rewards you in different ways. And it's at this point, it feels like we're maybe still in it. But we're probably already not. With a Primeval Bounty in play, Omniscience waiting in the wings, and then Tatiova, like, we're in pretty big trouble. But we're going to try and fight the good fight. So opponent leaves our Planeswalker in exile. We get a land. And go ahead and play Inspiring Overseer. We're just trying to desperately find something that can answer what the opponent's doing. Okay, so opponent Stern Dismissals. Bouncing Inspiring Overseer on our end step. And also, for their trouble, gets 3 counters on their creatures. So it just, you could see like how strong Primeval Bounty is in the right build. Ancient Greed Warden. Yeah, so casting a creature gets them a 3/3. So you could see how insane that card is in their deck. And the Green Warden gets them extra triggers off all their landfall activated abilities. So like they gained an extra 3 life off that land there. So now opponent just has a ton of and massive creatures. And we can't attack right now because Green Warden has reach. Declaration in Stone is pretty nice. Pretty much have to use it on the Green Warden. It's just going to go way too wild on their deck with Tatiova, if they ever manage to get Tatiova in play. But it's already feeling like desperation mode. We play out Mila. We just haven't seen like any of our like whammy Planeswalkers, like the really, really good ones. And you could see we switched to triple speed at this point because, like I said, hang around for a while, but it's already been slipping away. Just with free creatures, extra lands, free cards. Tatiova gives them extra cards, which then they can gives them more stuff to do with Primeval Bounty, and just absolutely unreal amount of resources. Now this is a pretty tough moment right here. We crack a clue, play Chandra, and then hit Ugin, but with only 5 mana available. Otherwise, Ugin could have taken down the enchantment. So on to the next one, we're playing Miriam Sentinel Worm. A card I've not played against yet. It seems insanely strong though. I mean, it is 6 mana, but it really rewards you if you can untap with it. So already a little worried, but we got some good things. We got a Cold Steel Heart. We got some mana rocks. We got some Planeswalkers. That's what we're trying to do. Command tower from the opponent. Jade Orb of Dragonkind. That's from like the Alchemy Commandery set. And yeah, trying to decide between Grandmaster of Flowers or Mindstone plus Heart of Kirin. So I end up going Mindstone plus Heart of Kirin. Now, I didn't really read the orb, but it turns out that orb is really insane. Because whenever you cast a dragon with it, it gets a +1/+1 counter and like hexproof. Or is it a hexproof counter? Anyway, it's really good, turns out. So, that Eiganjo land is not going to be able to take out the Goldspan dragon. Not only that, but Goldspan's treasure has already set them up very nicely for Miriam. So yeah, that orb is insane in dragon decks. And here comes Miriam. I see, so it gets hexproof until end of turn. That's how it works. Either way, that's pretty good. Okay, so Sarkon's passive dings the goal span, and we're not in great shape. Decide to take this chance to try and block it down with Heart of Kieran. We're not going to have very many good options, but just go ahead and make the trade here. We're feeling pretty desperate. The Planeswalkers we have just are not equipped to do anything to like just massive dragon and soon to be multiple massive dragons. So it seems like the best thing we could hope to do is to try and race the opponent. And that's pretty tough right there. Memory lapse on our Rowan, because Rowan could have actually gotten up our creatures to 7 power to attack through Miriam. So that memory lapse not only like denying us our next draw, but countering that was really tough. Okay, so opponent plays Draconic Lore, refills their hand. Ornithopter Paradise. Not only that, but there's the native ward on Miriam is just also really annoying. And we see Grandmaster of Flowers. It's just not really doing that much. I mean, it could activate to try and like shut down Miriam, but we have to pay the ward tax every single time. So once again, sort of like on the racing plan, just opponent can attack us or try and like chip down our Planeswalkers. Let's see what opponent does. Old Gnawbone, which for their trouble gets a counter, temporary hexproof, and a bonus one, and we're mega dead. Alright, on to the next one. This time we're playing Alila. Now, Alila's a commander I've built around before. It's pretty fun. Can be very strong. So let's see how we can do against it. Once again, Grandmaster of Flowers, just looking so lame. We just keep drawing it, and it just never seems like it does anything. Okay, so we have some lands. We're hoping they just run out their commander and we just remove it with Fateful Absence, but they just play Celestis, so... opt to cycle the land. We already have 2 more, just trying to see what else we can generate. Okay, so we do end up drawing a creature. There is the option of like Skyclaving down the Celestis, but it just doesn't seem like that high priority. It'd be much better to use Skyclave on their commander. Oh, and they couldn't even run out their commander the turn before because it costs 4 mana. So Rydane is actually a huge problem for us because it makes Snowlands come to play tap and taxes non-creature spells that cost 4 more. So it makes all of our basics come to play tap and taxes all our Planeswalkers. So that's a big no-no. Skyclave thankfully takes out Rydane. My opponent on their turn just plays Ornithopter, so they've missed lands a couple turns. And so, sensing that, I'm trying to capitalize on that, them not being able to deploy everything. So that's why I play Zerial. And Zerial's +1 can give our creatures +1/+0 in haste, and that allows our Apparition to attack through the Ornithopter of Paradise. Okay, so opponent Brazen Borrowers, our Skyclave Apparition. We're not too worried about that because we'll just use it again on something else. But our Grateful or Graceful Apparition, one of those 2 words, it gets us like a proliferate every time it hits a player Planeswalker. Okay, they play Obsessive Collector, another card I don't know, but it seems pretty good. So decide to play out Mila. An opponent casts Wash Away, which is a major blowout. I wasn't drafting a whole lot during that era, and so not super familiar with that card, but boy is it strong in this format in Commander. So just get like an absolutely huge tempo blowout right there. And now it feels like opponent has already turned the tables on us with that clutch washout right there. So opponent is trying to generate cards off their blue flyer. So they opt not to send it at the Planeswalker, the Obsessive Collector. So we don't have a really good place to direct the damage. We just send it right at their face. Okay, so the Collector gets to seek something. Phyrexian Arena comes down. And that's going to help them get out of their mana screw situation, but just an extra card each turn. And so opt not to kill anything with the with our kill spell, just because the main thing we want to kill has ward. So end up just spending our whole turn to take down Collector by casting Skyclave, paying through the ward. Not feeling super great, but we're trying here. So end up just zeroing to make a devil, playing our tapped Cave of the Frost Dragon, passing. So now arenas on Phyrexian arenas are online for opponents. So they find a land and they just hammer us with River's Rebuke. That's pretty devastating. Get another large spirit token for their trouble, and we have to just once again redeploy everything. So lead with Monk of the Open Hand, and then Skyclave, and just trying to shut off their mana. Maybe it would have been better to shut down their cards, but I figured it's going to reduce their options. And once again, Grandmaster of Flowers looking pretty lame since we've drawn the Monk of the Open Fist before we've even been able to tutor it. Okay, Elite Spellbinder. So they have a choice of a bunch of stuff, and to my great astonishment, they actually take Grandmaster of Flowers, which to me it seemed like the worst Planeswalker in our hand. Maybe they were thinking because it has like a defensive ability. Either way, we get slammed by the giant spirits, which we can't profitably block. The opponent follows up with Kaito Shizuki, and it feels like things are slipping away. But we're going to fight the good fight. We used Fateful Absence on their Spellbinder to unlock our flyer, and just to play a little defense. Cast Elspeth Resplendent.
Point me towards the fight. I'm ready.
And we're going to go ahead and decide to plus Elspeth. It was tempting to try and fish for something there, but I realized I could put a lifelink counter on a fairly large monk, which can gain us some life, and not it, but we get a real clutch proliferate off Graceful Apparition right there, moving up Elspeth's loyalty and giving another counter on Monk of the Open Fist. However, unfortunately, the opponent has a clean 7 damage to take down Elspeth despite our little proliferate game we were doing. And they take the chance now to play Alila, draw a card off Kaito, and play Curse of Silence. And they name Mila, so. And they follow up with Search for Escontis. So they just have a massive army. We draw Declaration in Stone, which is really nice. We could take out all the tokens. Decide just to take out Alila. They're just going to be able to get so much value if they can untap with it. And we still have a 5/5 lifelink. So aim it at Kaito, but they just stick a fairy in the way. But it's helping buffer our life total and help us just keep trying to figure out a way out of this. Second spell gets another counter on Monk. Zariel zeros to make a devil. And we're trying to fight our way back into this. The opponent has a lot of card advantage with the Phyrexian Arena and Kaito. Okay, opponent sends 1 spirit at Zariel, 1 at us. So just try to block to keep Zariel alive. And the nice thing about it is that we can use the Devil's Ping to take down the fairy token, which can potentially open the skies up for Graceful Apparition. They do have Brazen Borrower, but opponent just slams Kioribes the Sea God to make an 8/8 hexproof Kraken. That is just a really tough card right there. Its other two chapters are equally as backbreaking. It's going to lock down all of our creatures next turn. You can see my timer running down because I'm really trying to make sure I navigate this correctly, but decide the way we can do it potentially is to try and race them. Now notably, Zariel's +1 grants haste, so go ahead and just play out as many creatures as possible, knowing that they don't have a whole lot of blockers, and knowing that Monk's going to give us some chunk of life. It would have been so much better if Monk had 8 power right here to get through a Kraken. So that's unfortunate, but right now we're just trying to just hack their life total down. And so we're presenting lethal damage, so they're going to have to like throw some things under the bus. So easy block on our Monk right there. Little tough to lose that, but we're going to get a lot of life, take out some of their things, and hack their life total down a little bit. Opponent cracks a clue. Because the thing to understand now is that Phyrexian Arena is now going to start working against our opponent. So we got the proliferate off the apparition. Was considering proliferating the Sea God thing, but it's all bad. There was no point in proliferating it. So opponent falls to 4 and has locked down all of our permanents with Kioribes the Sea God. Okay. They leave the Kraken back, send the spirits to take out Zariel. Okay, and they play Elspeth Conquers Death and nab our Skyclave, which gives them yet another spirit token. So opponent's at 4, but we're just really trying to get there. We gained a bunch of life thanks to Elspeth and Monk of the Open Fist way back then. All right, and then Thief of Sanity, and they pass. Now, one thing we still have is we have Cave of the Frost Dragon. Now, remember, opponents functionally at 3 life because of Phyrexian Arena, so they cannot just tank this hit right here. So they are forced to just chump block with their Thief of Sanity, which is good for us. And just looking at the opponent's forces right now, as far as what they have, they can't actually kill us with what they have, even though they have quite a lot going on. Alright, so they survive the turn. So now they go down to 3 life. Kioribes the Sea God goes off, and they very quickly steal our Cave of the Frost Dragon. So now that option's out the window. They play Wandering Emperor. You can see me fly over to the gear button, about to concede. They put a counter on that. So I'm just trying to figure out, okay, is there any way we can actually get there? Opponent's going to just smack us for a ton of damage here. We have 3 power of attackers that are going to untap. We lost our creature land. That's not going to happen. They have Brazen Borrower, so that I'm expecting them just to play Brazen Borrower or something. Okay, so opponent just plays Alila. But then something magical happens. We draw a land. Now, our Grandmaster Flowers, who I've been bashing the whole video, who seemed lame the whole time, and is being taxed by 4 mana now because of Spellbinder and Elspeth Conquers Death. We just top decked the land. This is going to allow us to spend 8 mana on Grandmaster Flowers and make it so Alila can't block.
I could use the conversation.
This creature, this Planeswalker that I thought was the worst one in the whole deck, is coming in clutch here, even costing twice as much. You can see I moved his triple speed for the sweet timer rundown of our opponent as they realize what has happened. They had so much going on, and they are losing to Grandmaster of Flowers for 8 mana. Alright, that was Mila Superfriends, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. We beat Erebos and Cody and Alila and lost to Miriam and Tathiova. So not a bad showing. What an epic game that last one was. Um, yeah, there's since the filming of this, there's some new Planeswalkers that have come out. So there's definitely some updates I would make to this. But I guess the big question on everyone's mind: should I cut Grandmaster of Flowers? I was bashing on it. I was hating it in all the games, and it came in so clutch. So that's the question in the comments. Should I cut Grandmaster of Flowers? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.